It was all about pomp and ceremony, and we mentioned yesterday it must have been a fascinating day for Seselja. A little bit like his first day at high school, because he spent some years at primary school on London Circuit in the Legislative Assembly, and there he was mixing it with the big boys. Seselja, Liberal Senator for the ACT, is on the line right now. Hello, Zed.
G'day, Mark. How are you?
Was it a bit like that yesterday?
Oh, look, a little bit. It's certainly a different experience. You know, you come up to Parliament House, and I was coming up in the weeks leading up, getting my office sorted. But the difference in a sitting week is quite extraordinary. The place does buzz. It's the home of Australian democracy, and it's a great place to be. It's a battle of ideas, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. But yeah, it's certainly a very different place to be as well.
Now, Zed, you've got 1,000 kids. How many have you got at the moment?
5.
5, and so give me an age range. In fact, give me the ages of all of them. Could put a father on the spot here.
14. Michael's 14.
Yeah.
Tommy's going to be 12 at the end of the year in December. We've got William is 8, Olivia is 6, and Grace is a little past 10 weeks.
All right, okay. The 8 and the 6-year-old. How do you explain to them what you're doing with your work? Are they fully across it?
Well, I sort of used to explain it to them when I was in the Assembly as well, and I would explain it in a similar way. And in the Assembly, I'd say we make the rules for Canberra, and I guess, we make the rules for Australia here at the Federal Parliament. And I think that's probably the best way to explain it, because, that's effectively what we do. We make the laws for the nation. So that's how I'd explain it to them. And they were up there yesterday for swearing in, and they'll be up again this afternoon for the Maiden Speech. So, look, it's very special for them. They don't obviously understand it at this stage. I mean, when I made Maiden Speech in the Assembly, I had 2 kids. Michael and Tommy were very young. They were about 5 and 3, I think, when I went into the Assembly. So they've sort of grown up, as have the others, and obviously Grace is yet to face it all.
How important is it for you, the content of a maiden speech in this setting?
Look, it's important for a number of reasons. It's obviously, it'll be looked back at by my opponents, by my supporters, by my grandkids, hopefully. And so I want it to be something that lasts. I want it to be something that expresses my values, a bit of my journey, some of what I stand for, and thanking a lot of the people who have helped me do what I do, and will hopefully help me continue to represent the people of the ACT as best I can. So I really want it to be an expression of those values. I'll talk about the Croatian heritage and the journey of my parents. It's a pretty big deal for them and for many in the Croatian community to have someone with a Croatian heritage in the Australian Parliament. It hasn't happened very often.
No, it hasn't. It's a fascinating position too for ACT senators, and in that you don't have many new kids on the block in the Senate until July, do we?
No, that's right. So it's Nova Peris and myself as new territory senators, and also there's a couple of casual vacancies, Sam Dastiari being one of them. So Sam and I are getting to know each other a little bit as new kids on the block, and that's been quite an interesting experience as well.
Obviously, in the lead up to the election in September, so much of the focus here in Canberra was on public service and potential job cuts from you guys, and the way that Labor had been cutting back on staff anyway. It's, I think, extremely apparent that these targets that Joe Hockey was talking about of 12,000 public servants, there's no possible way that you can achieve that without actually going in with a machine gun. It's not actually going to work the way that it was projected by him, is it, Zed?
Well, look, I'm not sure about that. I think that's the promise. That is the policy. And I think there's been a lot of uncertainty for a long time. And I think that, there was uncertainty with the Labor Party with their efficiency dividend. We've still got the efficiency dividend washing through. And obviously the Liberal Party has a policy of cuts by attrition. So that combination, when you're fixing a budget mess, does create a lot of uncertainty. So I think that things will start to settle down once it becomes much clearer as to how those reductions will be achieved. And so my push and my urging to my ministerial colleagues will be to be as clear as possible, to honour that promise. And once people have some certainty, I think you will see the rate of attrition change again, whereas at the moment I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's to be expected.
But Zed, you say that they're all going to be achieved by natural attrition. So, how can you say that on the one hand, but on the other hand say it'll be all when it becomes clear as to how we're going to achieve these reductions in staffing numbers.
Well, there's a number of ways you can achieve through attrition. There's been, obviously, if you look at what the situation has been in recent years in terms of movements, retirements and other things, there's all sorts of ways you can do it. So the government's going through that process. Obviously, I'm urging them to be as absolutely clear as possible with the community. And look, I certainly raised that in my speech today, along with a number of other things.
Are you embarrassed by the accounting woes that have been thrust onto the front page of the papers regarding the ACT Liberal Party?
Oh, look, I sort of take with a grain of salt what I read in the Canberra Times about the ACT Liberal Party, Mark. I think the article yesterday, I'm not across all the details, but it was an amateur article and it sort of treated people's off-the-record assertions as facts, and I think that when journalists get into that game, I think it's not to be taken that seriously, actually. And
when are you expecting repeal of the carbon tax to find itself in your House?
Well, look, I would think very soon in the Senate. I think that it will be debated in the House of Representatives, but obviously it will go through the House of Representatives. There's a strong majority there, and it will come in the Senate soon. And, I'd say again to the Labor Party, do they really want to be the party that continues to push for higher electricity and gas prices? I mean, Canberrans, like all Australians, want to see their costs come down. And, the carbon tax, people voted to get rid of it, and I think Labor should honour that.
Zed, thanks for your time this morning. Good luck today.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure.